Welcome to the channel, my name's Andrew and I'm going to be going over comparisons between the picture profiles SLOG2 and CINE4 on the Sony A6300. Now there are obviously benefits between both picture profiles, the most notable one being that SLOG2 or log profiles give bigger dynamic range. So if you want to skip straight to the comparison footage, I'll leave a timestamp on this video. And if you want to skip straight to the results and my recommendations, there's a timestamp on here as well. But if you want to listen to the method and how I color corrected everything and made the footage try to match together, I would recommend it because it gives an overall context to this video. So stay tuned. So as I said, I'm going to use SLOG2 and CINE4 picture profiles. For SLOG2, I use the default picture profile 7. And for CINE4, I actually use a custom picture profile, and this is the picture profile used by Cody Blue when he used to shoot on the Sony A6300. I'll leave a link to his video and his settings in the description. Just a word about the camera settings and everything. All the camera settings that are used between the two comparisons use a similar white balance, aperture and shutter speed, and they were all shot with a TIFF and ND filter just so I could maintain the 180 degrees shutter rule. So it was 24 frames per second at 1/50 shutter speed. So the ISO is the only thing that's different between the SLOG2 and CINE4 picture profile. And this is because CINE4 shoots on a base ISO of 200, whereas SLOG2 shoots on a base ISO of 800. So that's the only difference between the two. Everything else is kept the same. So in post, I brought all my footage, my SLOG2 footage, into DaVinci Resolve. And when I got into DaVinci Resolve, I used DaVinci's color management to correct all my footage to Rec 709. If you don't know what this is, I highly recommend watching Avery Peck's YouTube tutorial on color correcting footage to Rec 709. I then made a single node to minor adjustments to the exposure and saturation of the footage, and then I exported this footage into Premiere Pro. In Premiere Pro, I brought in the exported graded footage or color corrected footage from DaVinci Resolve and compared it side by side to the CINE4 profile. I used the Lumetri scopes and the Luma waveform to best match the scopes together and boosted the saturation to what I felt was similar to both clips. Now that that's out of the way, let's jump to the comparison footage and I'll let you see and compare which one you think looks better. I think it goes without saying that it's very obvious why someone would pick CINE4 over SLOG2. I'm going to be cutting across my screen where I have notes, so bear with me. You can actually see the colors on the flip screen. It's one of them. It's far easier to expose correctly because all you need to see is the +0 on the meter. And generally you can get a better idea of what the final image is going to look like. Here's my recommendations. Use SLOG2 if you fall under these two conditions. You color grade and you plan to color grade and correct your footage. And 2, you have proper lighting, or the lighting is good. In my opinion, the image you can get out of SLOG2 is far better, or is better, not far better, it's better than the image you can get out of CINE4. In poor light, there's not really much benefit to using SLOG2 over CINE4, as you pick SLOG2 or log profiles to get better dynamic range. In poor lighting scenarios, the dynamic range is going to be limited anyways. Oh yeah, the autofocus is also really bad in SLOG2. If you know the basics of color grading, I highly recommend using SLOG2 and using DaVinci's color management, converting the footage to Rec 709 just like I showed in the video, and then using that as a base starting point to grade your footage. About LUTs, I've tried using color correction LUTs, but I think that if you're someone who, like me, you're going to be in lots of different lighting scenarios and it's not always going to be consistent light, the LUTs just don't do it justice. You could use them as a starting point, but personally I've never really found much success in using LUTs, so I would not recommend using them. For grading, there are some good LUTs out there which I could recommend, but again, if you grade, I think these can really be easily replicated, but it's just a time saver if it's good. Does any of this matter? Yes, and also no. Composition, lighting, and storytelling are going to make your video better. I think choosing your picture profile it's important to bring your footage to the next level, to the next extra 10%, but in terms of other aspects, this is just that little thing that will make your videos have that extra pop. For the Sony A6300, this is all about maximizing how do you get the best image quality for the camera that you've got, and I think SLOG2, given the lighting, given the correct lighting scenarios, is worth looking into. And yes, it's got a bit of a learning curve, but I think it's worth learning, honestly, and I think it's not too hard to learn. So in that regard, if you're shooting CINE4 and it allows you to focus more on the storytelling, the composition, and other things like that, and you don't need to focus on the technical aspects, by all means, I'd say go for it if that helps you enhance the other thing, because those things are the bulk of it, or that are going to make your video better. This picture profile, yes, it gets you a better image, but I mean, there's so many other aspects. So yes, SLOG2 is a bit daunting at first, but if you enable the histograms and you know how to color grade, you have access to DaVinci, I mean, it's free, you should definitely download it, then I would say just give it a try. It's not really that hard. Yep, this video was mainly for me because I was using Cody Blue's CINE4 picture profile for a long time, and it was good, but I wanted to learn how to grade my footage and bring it up to that next level, and I found that using SLOG2 really enabled that. And the thing is, I'm still going to be using CINE4 because when shooting in high frame rates like 120 FPS or 60 FPS, SLOG2 just kind of crumbles apart. So I'm still going to be using CINE4, but when I have the right lighting conditions, I will 100% using SLOG2. I think it just gets a better image quality, better dynamic range, I think, and I would highly recommend that. So yeah, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you found it useful. And that's everything. Yeah, I'll see you guys later.